Welcome to another tutorial. This is a quick tutorial, and I just wanted to give you some tips and some tricks and some thoughts. As I did this portrait myself, I thought of some things and I thought it might be beneficial to you. Now, the background, I am using Pan Pastels, and for my pencils I am using Prismacolor Premier pencils. Now, when you do the Pan Pastels, I would say they are such an important part of my art supplies. It's something that I really enjoy. One, because I can use them on backgrounds in big spaces. You can use them underneath as like a tonal base. But then on top of that, you also don't risk ruining the tooth of the paper. You can kind of just dab them on there, rub them in, and you preserve that tooth in the paper, especially with the pastel mat, the pastel mat that I'm using. It has a fine tooth on it, so I don't want to ruin that, as you know, versus like a colorless blender that I would use in smaller areas. Sometimes you risk that pressure ruining some of that tooth. So you can also use like a paper stump, and that, I feel like that might be more for a smoother paper, or even like with graphite, not much like colored pencil. That's my opinion. I know lots of artists who do use the blending stump and with their colored pencils. Now I wanted to talk more about the placement of your subjects. This is a double portrait, so don't let it scare you, because in the beginning I actually had a double portrait and I was so scared to do it, just because I was afraid that I would do one of the portraits really well and then I might completely tank and bomb the second one and just ruin the whole picture. So don't be scared to try it. Don't be scared to take your time, to just really work through those areas. Now, I believe whenever you're doing a double portrait or a triple, if you have 4 or 5, I mean, I've had several of those as well, the placement is probably one of the most important parts of your final piece. How you place the animals can make or break it, and in this one I really wanted to make it look like just welcoming. These 2 dogs, I know them personally, very sweet dogs. I love them both very much, and I wanted to make sure that I place them appropriately. So when you're doing a double portrait or triple, it's always good to go and try different placements to see which one looks the best. One way to do this is you can always print out the pictures of the dogs or the cats, whatever you're doing, and then, cut them out and then place them on the paper and look at it to see if that's the way that you like it. There's also another way that you can do it, and that is the way that I use my iPad, and I will take the pictures and erase all the backgrounds and kind of place them on different areas. And sometimes I'll even ask the client if it's not a surprise, or if, I'll just ask the client, which one they like the best. And then also with the animals, because I work in small sections, I didn't really use any kind of blocking out. I could have used the Pan Pastels to block out the base colors, but I just used my pencils. Now, this paper will eat up your pencils. This is the pastel mat, and it does have a fine tooth, and especially with these colored pencils, the Prismacolors, they're so soft that the paper just eats them up. So definitely, if you use the pastel mat with the Prismacolors, you're going to see that it does eat up your pencils quite quickly. So have a lot of extra on hand. Now, if you're using a different type of pencil with a harder core, you don't have that much of a problem with it. I've used Polychromos as well on this paper, and it doesn't seem to eat it as quickly, but I will say though that I do get a lot of the dust. I don't get quite as much dust with the Prismacolor. I'm not sure why. It must just stick to the paper better, but it seems that it doesn't have a whole lot of dust on it whenever you draw. With other papers, I would typically use a very soft paintbrush to brush away the dust. On this paper though, and because I've used the pan pastels, sometimes you will brush away that pigment that you have put down, and then you also risk the dust sticking into that paper. So when I use the Prismacolors with this type of paper, the pastel matte, I end up blowing on the paper to kind of get it to go away. Now with the Prismacolors, they don't seem to like smush, or you know, if I do wipe it away on different papers, if I'm using a Bristol board or another type of paper, they don't seem to like smear or anything. Neither do the polychromos, but there's always that risk that you're taking if you use a brush to brush it away. Now, I'm not saying that using a brush is wrong. I obviously use it, and it is a good tool as well. But on this paper, if you're using the polychromos pencils, I would suggest that instead of brushing it away, that you would just blow on your paper to get it to kind of get off your paper, so that you don't have that risk of smudging or creating a line that you didn't expect to be there. Luckily, the pan pastels though are very forgiving. They cover very well. So is this paper. The paper is also very forgiving, and you can color over things very quickly actually. And also, if you're questioning your abilities and you kind of have a cartoony look to your animals that you're drawing or your people, definitely try changing your pencils. You know, getting a feel for a different type of pencil, see if you know you can do different blending techniques. I do teach some of those on my Patreon page. If you look me up, it's under Corinne States Art, and it's about $5 a month, $3 if you're a beginner, so it's not that big of an expense. But yeah, like you can try changing your pencils. You don't need the expensive pencils, just find one that works for you. There are some pretty wallet friendly pencils out there. You've got Arteza, you have Prismacolors. That's what I like. I prefer to use Prismacolors. And most big stores will carry them, like Hobby Lobby. So you can actually get like the loose pencils, and it's not too expensive. But also change your paper. Now, the paper I never really thought was that big of a deal, but I will tell you, once I changed my paper, my skill level increased dramatically, and I realized the change in and how important it is that the paper be correct. So try different things. Drafting film, the Bristol, pastel matte, there's all different kinds. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed some of the tips that I had. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I will get to you as soon as I see it. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so that you get all of my updates. Have a great day.